Hi, I'm Zach Stewart.
Laura Hotchkiss.
And I'm Daniel Kvoras. On this podcast, we improvise in character as hosts of a morning radio show in a fictional country called the Driftwood Isles.
Everything we say is made up, and none of the events, people, or places are real.
It's that simple. Now enjoy this episode of Good Morning Driftwood.
And we are back with you, Driftwood. Good morning to you. Good morning, Driftwood. I am one of your co-hosts, Bench PerDiem. With me, as always, Dirk Wiley.
Well, hello there, buddy.
And Penelope MacGuffin.
Also here. Affirmative.
Okay, so
Business. Penelope's all business.
we need to get to business because just to clear this up, we have had our survival wilderness exam that we have been preparing for live on air. Listeners might have noticed that things have gone a little bit awry since this is now a full week later.
We keep getting extensions.
We got an extension. We are still trying to cram for this and figure this out.
Is it still cramming when we've had so long to do? Like, I feel like my whole life is just this. Like, we've talked about nothing else.
At this point, going to the 1 week summer school we have been going to whenever we fail would take less time. But it feels like a in for a penny, in for a pound.
In for a penny. How do you feel about that, penny?
I hate that.
You hate that expression?
I hate that I'm in for the less amount. You know?
You should
It should
make
be
a
in
friend.
for a pound, in for a penny.
That would make
Because you have more value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
should be that way.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
You should make a friend with the first or last name Pound and then start a TV show called In for a Penny, In for a Pound, where you're both detectives.
What if it got more successful than this radio show, though?
That would be good for our radio show.
Presumably, because you'll never
bad,
leave us.
But bad for egos.
Well, just because you have a successful television show doesn't mean you'll be the bigger star.
But also, we support you, and we want you to, if that's what you want to have,
Want
a
you to
big,
thrive.
sparkling career, then that's great. We would
Of
be happy
course.
for you. Your success does not mean our failure.
It mitigates nothing with regards to any of us.
I would be
we
more-
know you're the prodigy. You were the
Yeah.
prodigy. We've
Thank
talked
you.
about it. You came into the show having all cylinders go from day one.
Yeah, I think the issue would be the fact that we have been having this discussion for about a minute now, and Penny will not make eye contact with either of us.
She's
Because
locked in.
I need to pass this, or there's
Okay,
no TV show.
The survival test.
Let's get
The
into it.
Driftwood
cannot-
survival exam
Give
that
us
all
another-
citizens must take every year.
Give us another chapter, another
I'm trying to find.
quandary.
Wait. I'm trying to find. All right. So from people
Is that
that
a
have,
bicycle?
yeah, you can turn it into power. Bicycle power generator.
I guess if you have a bicycle.
That's an espresso machine. Now, before we've established there would be no baristas in the wilderness, and this book
there is
has
now
a goddamn espresso
a
machine.
way to turn a bicycle
Oh, now we're interested.
into powering an
Now
espresso
we're
machine.
interested.
If it will get us coffee in the apocalypse, I'm
That'll-
very interested.
Also-
Count me interested.
Not to be that guy, that is a very weirdly structured espresso machine.
I think you probably.
Yeah,
would
we don't
need
want
to,
gross espresso machines. We want like to power nice.
Yeah, but you're going to have
high-end
to
espresso
be.
machines.
I think you're going to have to be reasonable about the amount of power that you can generate.
I think
and
when you
what the
start
power
making
goes through.
compromises
With single
on your
shots.
quality of life, that's when you really start to
Hey.
lose faith in the future.
Here's how you can
you're
brew
gonna
coffee
lose
without
morale.
power. There's a whole section in this on how to brew coffee without power because
an
your
AirPress.
letters,
I wish we'd gotten to this.
your letters to the government made this happen.
That's actually super simple. Can I guess?
Glad they were listening to those letters. Go
Get a
on,
manual
Bench.
coffee grinder and warm up some water and just
Yeah,
put
but
the
how are you going to
coffee
warm
grinder-
up
Yeah,
that
but
water?
it's also the four.
sun.
There's four
Put a-
different
put a-
versions.
Take a rock, bake it in the sun, and put it in a container.
Yeah.
Presumably a sardine tin with
Yeah.
water in it.
Or go to the volcano that's erupted nearby.
So
There
it's,
you go.
Yeah.
It's essentially four different areas of the world, and you're using their standard coffee making. Vietnamese, place grounds in a small
Ooh.
single serve metal filter, then pour hot water over them. The coffee seeps through the filter into a cup below.
Drip
How
roast.
do you get the
Vietnamese
grounds?
coffee is delicious.
I think by this point they're going to assume that you'll have the grounds, or maybe you've gone
We'll
to like a
figure
big
that out.
box store and you've bought them. Like you're going to have.
I'm not
If there are-
worried.
If there are functional big stores that sell coffee grounds, can't they just brew me some coffee?
Maybe you're saying sell you coffee as if you've not gone in with your like rudimentary spear that we make
We'll
from the
have
duct
raided
tape and the
a
knife.
bunch
and
of
you know,
places. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We learned how to make that spear by duct taping a knife to a stick.
Mm-hmm. You've got
So I
your
guess we'll
duct
have a
tape
bunch
hat
of
on
those. Yeah,
and your duct tape balaclava
which will
so that they
intimidate them.
can, intimidate.
And so I'll have my duct tape cowboy hat.
Yeah.
And my duct tape on top of my duct tape balaclava.
Which is-
Which
you got to tape yourself into that thing.
Which
So
is
you're
really
wearing that for a
convenient.
while.
was really that one time that we all just took a big roll of duct tape and just, but it did the
It's a real
finger on our
scatter
heads.
shot.
Well,
Yeah.
you
We
did
got to
that.
rob this place.
No, we all
Yeah.
did that. We
you
all
did that. I folded mine over so it didn't stick to my face. You got your
You
skin did
what?
not look good for a
You
while.
cheated?
Yeah, so it didn't stick. I didn't need to stick directly to my face. I like double-sided it so that it
That was the
the
time we robbed
yeah.
that plant store, that plant nursery because we saw a bunch of nice like small plants and
They were
succulents.
so-
But we'd
that
all
were
forgotten
delicious.
our
But I'm like,
wallets.
this is nature. They don't own these. They're for the people.
We were liberating the
and so
plants.
we got real fired up. Penny took a lot of time with her balaclava.
You were
I-
in such a rush.
Yeah, and I set a fire and was getting myself real
Yeah.
jazzed and jacked up by the
Went in
fire.
with your face fully in view, and everyone
Yeah.
was like, "That's that guy from the radio."
Exactly. And so I ran back out and then I said, hey, balaclava me. And you wrapped the duct tape around my head
Yeah.
really fast,
not
leaving
to-
a thing. And
not
then I
to
ran
interrupt.
back in and we all ran in.
Part of the reason you put the balaclava on is because you were really upset. They said, hey, that's that guy from the radio and didn't specifically go,
That
it's
was
Dark from the radio.
Infuriating.
It was a really
So you
bad
were like,
call on
they
their
don't
part.
deserve the face.
That's when
they
I
don't
decided.
deserve the money.
Yeah. That's when I decided this is no longer just going to be a smooth interaction. We're going to do some damage in this place.
And we
Once
did.
they called me the guy from the radio, we're going to burn this plant store to the ground after we take the few succulents that we want.
The
We
weird
did.
thing was we did end up paying in the end.
We
Oh,
did.
yeah, we felt bad.
They knew it was us.
Yeah.
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 We didn't want the trouble.
Yeah.
The cowboy method, you said cowboy hat. You've got your duct tape cowboy hat. Rough grind your coffee beans with a hand grinder or mortar and pestle.
I did say that you could use a hand
I love
grinder.
a mortar and pestle.
I love a hand
Little mortar
grinder.
and
I
pestle.
make a nice pesto. I can make
Is
my
that-
pesto in the
is that what-
apocalypse.
Is that why they call it a mortar and pesto?
You make a pesto
Yeah,
with
the
your
mortar and
pesto?
pestle.
Yeah, that's why I call it my mortar and pesto.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Yeah, because I make it.
Yeah.
You said that?
I said that.
I probably said it.
No,
Then-
I think it was mine.
It was a really good thing, so I imagine me.
But I
We
said it
don't
first.
have time for this.
Okay.
Check the tapes.
Throw them into a pot of water, heat to simmering, then let cool as the grounds settle before pouring off the coffee. Optional, use a filter to remove loose grounds.
Basically,
Pour
Cowboy
off the
method.
coffee.
You want to pour off the coffee, yeah.
So you just put them all in a container and then
Yeah, you're basically doing it the old-fashioned cowboy way where you're just like, chuck that in, it all stirs together, and then you just want to like make sure there's no debris coming in your cup.
the Vietnamese way sounds better.
Well, there's also the Turkish way.
Basically, the Turkish way.
Mud coffee is known as.
Ooh,
Grind your
I
beans.
do like Turkish coffee.
Grind your beans
I
into a
just-
fine powder, then add to water, bring to a boil, then remove from the heat. A layer of foam covers the top of the coffee, and the fine grounds will stick to the bottom.
Fun real fact. The traditional way, you have to boil it 3 times. It's a real thing.
Interesting.
French
I like
press.
that.
It's very good.
You can
Lovely.
find French
Oh, the
presses made of
French.
sturdy
Get
plastic.
The fuck out of here.
You can find French presses made of sturdy plastic instead of costly glass. Add grounds and boiled water, steep for a few minutes, then press the sieve down to filter.
Sure.
Pass.
Sure. No, thank you. I'll
Any
stick
of-
to the Turkish
Any
way.
of the other three.
Get the fuck out of here with your cafeterie
You
And your
press it.
déclochage.
and your denouements
What is that?
And your mise en scène.
and
What's
your
the-
mise en
what's this?
place
What's that?
And your baguette.
What are you guys talking
and
about?
your omelette au fromage
And your où est la piscine.
and your Eiffel Tower
And your bonne chance.
And your what?
Bonne chance.
and your bon
is that?
appetit.
Good luck.
Ah. You guys are so worldly.
Well, you have to know your enemy.
It's keep your enemies closer, isn't it?
You're the one who hates the French the most out of all us.
I haven't learned it. It's more of an act of, I guess, resistance to not. But I think you guys are right. You should know your enemy.
There was a bit
We
in
can work
here-
together
There's a
on
lot
this.
of culture to learn about. Yeah.
There's
There's a lot of French culture.
Yeah.
No, it's quite long and storied and it's probably quite interesting, I would imagine.
Sure. Yeah.
So you learn about it. You spend hours and hours learning about
Yes.
so that you can know
Take it out
what
from
you
within.
hate.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
When you hate something, you want to be specific. I don't want
And
to
really
go
just
down this route.
luxuriate in the music and the culture and the food
Yeah.
so that you can know that you don't like it.
Yeah, you got to know that if it's if the croissant is straight, then that means it's all butter. But if it's slightly angled, that means it can be whatever kind of fat that they use there.
I'm trying to find
That's
the bit.
actual laws,
Interesting.
I think.
You said this sounds like from experience. You probably have cooked all kinds of glorious, beautiful, buttery French pastries and cuisine.
I've cooked so many French pastries, and that really does a number on them. When you saute a baguette,
I'd imagine it gets a
it's
nice
actually pretty
caramelized.
good.
Yeah, it sounds nice.
a little toasted, put a little rosemary on it. Oh.
So that you can then take it down. So you can take down the French culture.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. That makes sense.
Again, mime. Oof.
I'm trying to
So
find.
you've learned how to mime as well.
Yeah, I've gotten really good at miming.
Taking lots of miming classes.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah, I'll do some right now just for our listeners on the radio.
Whoa.
Okay. Ooh, how did you make yourself larger? Your face just expanded. Wow. Mime is magical.
And scene.
Wow.
It's an art form, Lecoq.
What did you just call me? You watch your mouth, sir.
Jacques Lecoq is the father of French clowning, really.
Jacques Lecoq
I shit
is
you not,
the
that's
name
the real name
of the father of French mime.
clowning. When
Of
mime
clowning.
comes in there. Yeah.
Jacques Lecoq.
Mhm.
Is that a given name or is that a stage name?
I believe it's a given name. I don't know. I have his book.
Okay. I can understand why he got into comedy and clowning
I mean,
with
with
a name like
that.
Lecoq.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's called making lemonade out of lemons.
It's called making lemonades out of lemons.
Yeah, French
That's what
lemons.
it's called. Yeah. Learn some English, French.
Mm.
What do
Penny,
we got,
you're
Penny?
real deep in
You're-
that book.
Trying to find.
Not engaged in this conversation in many
What are you
ways.
looking for there?
Trying to find the section that we definitely are not up to date with, which is
Yeah, there's just one left.
repurposing street drugs.
Fantastic.
Okay, we
I've got
continually
a
get this
lot
wrong.
that we can repurpose. I've got reservoirs.
We get this wrong every time. Okay, so there.
And I call them street drugs. But I say, hey, would you
Versus-
guys like any street drugs?
And
'Cause I
people
think
keep thinking that you're a cop when you
Yeah.
say that.
because you want
I
to.
think it sounds more
Yeah,
sophisticated.
and I think you need to be organized with your street drugs versus your multi-pack of paracetamol that you got that day.
yes.
like, you wanna
And
make
the
sure you
drugs that I make myself.
Those are your indoor drugs,
Yeah.
different than your street drugs.
Yeah. I think it's important that people know where the drugs came from.
Yeah.
The street.
Yeah.
These are drugs from the street.
Well, so there, as we know, when you sometimes, if you were getting a takeaway and your parents were
Love
like,
where this is going.
"Don't order rice. We've got rice here. I'm just make rice in the house." And that was always disappointing because that was not the same rice, but it's house rice. You would call that rice. They'd be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, don't do house rice. You do house paracetamol, house ibuprofen."
Yes.
You got a lot of medication that you'll
Homebrews.
just homebrew.
I call them.
Artisanal.
Love
Small
it.
batch.
There you go.
Small batch artisanal.
Indeed.
Okay. So you shouldn't take illegal drugs for lots of reasons
Well, we can brush past that part.
Mm.
and not very
Not
good
that
for
many.
you, apparently.
Depends
Debatable.
on, yeah, depends on the drug.
It also depends on the context.
Also
That-
depends
What
on
are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
That said, if you're truly desperate and happen upon someone's stash, many illicit substances have surprisingly licit uses. After all,
I love
many of
how
them started out as medicine long
Far
ago.
as bending over backwards to be like, drugs are bad, but they're actually really useful in post-apocalyptic scenarios and have many valid uses. But they had to get through like a whole paragraph of no, but they are, but they're bad. We're gonna make sure that this book is not coming across as pro-drugs.
Do you ever read a paragraph and can just tell the tone that it was written? Like, of course drugs are bad. It's just
Yeah.
like it reads sarcastically.
Mhm.
Good. Fun. We like to have fun here.
MDMA.
We're
MDMA.
starting off
okay.
hot.
Yeah.
Love it.
the
Let's
party
go.
drug.
Mhm.
What do you think are the other therapeutic purposes?
Of MDMA?
Yeah.
Having a good time.
I mean, that's
Euphoria.
Number one.
it's used in treating PTSD and for other therapeutic purposes, and it is being investigated as a treatment for Parkinson's.
I did not know that about
Again,
Parkinson's.
the way
That's
that it's
wonderful.
being- I feel like the way it's being investigated, and I don't want to, I hope that there is good research out there, and if this is a useful salve to that condition, then I support it fully. However, I'm just imagining a bunch of people taking MDMA and being like, yeah, this will help.
I feel better now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, this
Which-
is like,
yeah.
this is
To
a
be f-
survival guide.
Yeah. To be fair, a lot of these as well, I can't help but think you would take them and go, oh, I feel great.
Yeah, you'll feel a lot better about the apocalypse if you're just wrecked on
Tripping
MDMA.
balls of Molly,
Yeah. Like,
Cool.
this is fine. This is better.
Yeah.
I'm happy. Like, good. I'm glad society collapsed.
Cocaine.
All right.
Sure.
Another real fire starter, as they call it.
But don't use it to start fires.
No, it's not
No.
very effective.
It's not at all effective.
It's not a great,
No.
it's not good to be used as Tinder.
But if you have cocaine in your system, you're going to want to start a lot of fires, both literally and metaphorically.
Yes. It's a
People on
potent,
cocaine are just wrecking balls of humans.
They are a lot.
Yep.
a potent topical anesthetic. Cocaine was once used in surgery and dentistry. That's true.
Mm.
That's a thing.
Much
Really?
like one of my favorite
cocaine was a big deal.
television programs, The Knick,
Oh, you
where
love
Clive
This
Owen.
This
feels like something
opening
you
scene of
guys
the
have
Knick.
talked about before.
One of my favorite,
Has Dirk not brought up the opening scene of the Knick to you?
Nope.
Oh,
one of my
It's an off-mic bit.
favorite scenes ever put to film is Clive Owen. He's a doctor and he's a surgeon. And
in the
apparently,
olden days.
in the olden times, the early 20th century in New York, I believe. And he's the head surgeon, a real hotshot surgeon. And they're at the hospital. They're like, oh my God, we need someone to do surgery. And Clive Owen, head surgeon, isn't here. We need to go find him. And so the nurse goes around to his house and finds him like shivering in his bed because he is horribly addicted to cocaine. And she's like, we need you in surgery. And he's like, I'm addicted to cocaine and I'm having withdrawals because I want to stop being addicted to cocaine. And she's like, well, we need you. And he's like, okay, I guess I'll do a little bit of cocaine. But she can't find a vein on him to give him any of the cocaine. And so he's like, shoot the cocaine straight into my dick. And she's like, all right, I guess if you insist. And smash cut to him throwing the doors of the surgery open, being like, you do this, you do that, you do this. I've got a dick full of cocaine and I'm ready to cut this guy open. It is one of the most glorious moments in television history. Him just throwing those doors open with a dick just full of cocaine.
It's surprising to me that this hasn't come up before because this is the only reason that Dirk started that television awards society.
I feel like this is going to be clipped and used as a promotional tool for anything that the Knick ever needs.
Please.
Is that the Knick? Is
Did the Knick
Knick
ever did the Knick ever come back?
I think there were 2 seasons, maybe.
Huh.
I imagine
Was this like
the studios saw that opening, that initial, once they saw that, the first like
How do you
10,
top
15
it?
minutes, they're like, 5 seasons, let's
Yeah.
greenlight this. This is solid television magic.
I feel bad for the writers who just haven't.
Had
Where
one
do you
good
go
idea.
from there?
Yeah.
Where do you go? Because you can't just keep doing it.
No.
You ever start coming so hot and you're like, I
We
don't know
nailed
what
it
to do next.
straight out of the gate. You can't match perfection within the first 10 minutes of a show.
It can also be used to slow or stop bleeding. Cocaine.
I feel like it would. Okay.
Coca leaves. This coca leaves. Big true fact here.
Big
are
true.
often
This is
used.
a big true.
Big true
We got a
fact.
big true fact coming on up.
Are often chewed to treat nausea and altitude sickness.
How often?
Very often.
Wow.
South America.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Just the
Okay.
leaf
Yeah,
does
you
that.
chew the leaf, and then like if you're in a high altitude South American country, that's what you keep chewing.
Fun.
I imagine also just cocaine would distract you from
General
any
stuff.
altitude problems you may be having
That might be
by
part of
giving
it.
your body other problems to deal with.
Unless you
Basically.
have ADHD, in which case it will likely just make you hyper-focused on knowing
On
what
the
is wrong with you
altitude.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am so high right now, but high in terms of altitude,
Yes, because
not
my mind
high
is
in terms of your
quieted
state of
down.
mind.
Mhm.
Yes.
Marijuana,
All right, now we're calming down.
the kingpin of medicinal drugs.
That's what this survival book refers
yeah.
uses to refer to marijuana.
The kingpin.
Okay.
Weed is legal in
Interesting.
many places
Also,
for
I
medical
think
use.
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
You
about
Kingpin.
that.
Wait, the kingpin of medicinal drugs. It says.
Well, it is used
Because it's like
medicinally.
the cool one with an edgy attitude.
I thought because this is one that is actually used in medical
like-
treatment.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's the kingpin.
But
so he's
referring to it as the kingpin feels.
because you wouldn't call paracetamol the kingpin. That's like the
Why not?
that's like the old guy that's always been there.
Okay.
Marijuana, it's
Isn't
got
that
a
the
street
kingpin?
swagger.
That's what-
Wait,
saying.
is the kingpin the one who has been around a very long time and kind
No,
of runs
no.
the show from the shadows?
The kingpin would be, you're like criminal mastermind, not necessarily there for a long time, but here for a good time, baby, until he gets overthrown and another kingpin comes in. Am I right?
You're really on one, so to
Sorry,
speak,
this
right
is-
now.
this
I'm
is-
loving it. I am loving it.
Sorry, it's
Ride this
literally the
wave.
plot of the novel I'm writing.
The Knick?
I would never write the Knick.
The
How
king-
dare you? Those writers, after he gave them knighthoods, those writers are revered as saints.
I give them my television awards that I started after seeing that scene.
Mm-hmm.
They get honored every single year. They're the board, basically.
Actually-
they have a whole tier, a whole balcony to themselves at the awards.
You
Wow.
realize when you look at the name of the awards that when you just take the letters from the first word, it just is the Knick. That's what the awards are called, the Knick. When you
Wait,
when you
when
dig
you
down
take
into
the letters from the word the Knick, it spells out
No,
the
no,
Anagram?
from-
Anagram? Is
no,
that the thing?
Yeah, from the awards,
Initials?
from the name of the awards
Okay.
that he created. When you take the first initial of each of the name from the words that create the name of the award ceremony.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, kingpin. There's something
It's
insidious
basically
to
just-
the term kingpin, is my
Well,
point.
it's-
Whereas, why don't they just call it the king of medicinal drugs?
Yeah. The kingpin, I mean, because it's street drugs, I guess. So you got to make it a
yeah,
pin.
it's got a cool attitude,
It's gotta be
baby.
street. They've got to keep it street.
Approved for treating nausea, insomnia, chronic pain, anxiety, and epilepsy.
Epilepsy. That was one I didn't know about.
There you go.
LSD.
Okay. That feels less useful in survival scenarios.
Well, what it's suggesting is both LSD and mushrooms in very low doses have proven effective in treating debilitating cluster headaches and other severe pain. Once again, very low doses.
it reiterates this?
Yeah.
And it puts a full stop after each word of very
Really?
It
Low
doesn't,
doses.
it
That
doesn't want you to
feels-
have an old school Hollywood buffet
Old
situation
school
going on
Hollywood
there.
buffet.
Otherwise, you'll likely have a very interesting view of the end times.
Okay, now what
Does it
year
say
is this
that?
book from?
Yeah.
What year is this book
A
from?
very interesting view of the end times.
Well,
Also,
Because I wonder if they invented microdosing because they don't use that term.
true.
No, but also, I don't think they're trying to encourage you to use illegal drugs here. They're basically
Really?
just
I
like...
think that they are.
Because the very full stop, low full stop doses sounds like a wink and a nod.
Again, if you read this sarcastically,
Yeah.
very low doses.
I think if you read anything sarcastically, it's a wink and a nod to use illegal drugs. Like you read the Bible sarcastically, it's a wink and a nod to use illegal drugs.
That makes sense. That tracks to me.
It is, it kind of just like feels like it's written sarcastically
Mm.
in many ways.
I think that's you projecting your own thoughts on it.
I think that's what writing is.
Projecting your own thoughts on things.
Yeah. What's another one?
Heroin.
Heroin. Here we go.
Okay.
I also don't think this is going to be super useful in an end time situation.
The
It's
other one-
definitely going
heroin,
to pacify you.
Very useful.
Oh, because
To-
it's
to-
a super intense, crazy intense painkiller,
Or-
right?
Yeah,
Wait,
absolutely.
Is it useful to in a trade situation? Because we have had troubles
That's
with trading
true.
and bartering.
It
Could
would
Bench
be
and
so
I
useful
use
for
it
you.
to
Can
pacify?
we go back to one of the earlier scenarios
No.
we worked on? Because
Okay.
I
We
think
don't
if we
have
bring in
time for
heroin to
that.
that,
Yeah, if we had heroin, I think that's a trump card that we could definitely use to get whatever we
God,
want.
I still want to get those 15 laying hens so bad.
I want those ling hens.
You messed up the laying hens, okay? You got to accept it's until you find another community, you don't get to barter again.
Okay, fine, but we'll stock up on a whole bunch of heroin. So
Yes.
when we do find a community, we can get them all addicted on it. What about opium? Can we use
Well,
opium?
the heroin, the original opiate painkiller, it's more effective than morphine, Vicodin, or OxyContin. Also,
Oxycontin?
more likely to kill you, of course.
Yeah,
Also, fun fact,
That
all
tracks.
of those things fairly likely
pretty
to
likely
kill you.
to kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't do it to our listeners.
Yeah, I
Very
do
fair.
want to. We're talking a lot
Okay,
about drugs this episode, so I do want to
sarcastically.
emphasize to our
No.
listeners.
Hey, marijuana, don't do it sarcastically. Heroin, don't do it full stop.
Yeah. Don't do
Amphetamines.
drugs. We at Good Morning Driftwood do not encourage any drug use of any kind.
Amphetamines.
Didn't we already do cocaine? Isn't
This-
that amphetamine?
It's got this whole other section here.
How many more sections of the drugs
This is
are
the last one.
there? Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
We would have been quicker if we hadn't kept going on tangent.
We would have
Again,
been
that-
quicker.
That could be the tagline of this show.
We would have been quicker if we
Passed the test in the first place.
if we did a bunch of cocaine. We would do a lot faster.
That's also very
our
true.
show. We
That's
would
true.
burn through
Yeah.
our show so fast.
Yeah. Useful in treating some severe allergic reactions as well as narcolepsy and ADHD. Studies show some evidence of efficacy. That's it. I can never say that word. In helping stroke victims recover.
Hey, Penny.
Huh.
Penny. You just did it. You just said that word.
It's because he said it and I repeated him because
So-
I'm a little imitator.
Hey, but you did it. Good job, you.
That's how you learn.
That's how you learn.
That's how you
yeah,
learn.
you imitate
Yep,
and then
yep.
you innovate.
You imitate and then you innovate.
She gets it.
She gets it.
There you go.
I feel so validated by you. I feel so seen by you right now, Penny.
I would look up and confirm that, but I've got to look at this book.
Oh God.
Okay, do you have one more thing for us there before we
my God.
take the plunge and
one
do the
more
test?
thing? I've got
I think-
700 more things.
All right. Well, you know what that means. We're gonna come back for another
Oh, boy.
round of survival tips. We gotta round this
We
out.
gotta do this. We gotta, and we'll be back.
Good Morning Driftwood is executive produced and hosted by Zach Stewart, Laura Hotchkiss, and Daniel Kvoras. Engineered and produced by Zach Stewart. Music by Daniel Kvoras.